Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Tim's News Explosion on this Monday, the 10th of October, 2022. We are live on the Wilmsfront YouTube, D-Live and Odyssey channels, as well as on the Interactive Entropy software, where you can send myself a direct question throughout the show, or even better yet, send through a super chat to support Unshackled Productions. Peak Aussie Man on time this time. Yep, when it's just me doing Tim's News Explosion, then there's really no excuse for me to be late. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where on the weekend we saw those who are pro-life and pro-freedom reclaim the streets of Melbourne from the Socialist Antifa totalitarians who believe the streets of Melbourne belong to them. They were extremely triggered and bewildered. The fact that both the March for the Babies, the pro-life rally that is held to demand the repeal of the Abortion Law Reform Act of 2008, which legalized abortion up until birth, to demand it be replaced with a law that protects the unborn and all life. And then there was also the Mission to Melbourne, the pro-freedom extravaganza, which had interstate visitors. Most high profile was Tricky Tritty from the People's Revolution. It's 5 days, so there is still another day of events tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to focus on media lies, government lies march. Most of the Mission to Melbourne has been live streamed by Anthony Burge on Facebook. A lot of you may have been watching his lives. I know I was tuning in periodically throughout the weekend. I mean, he is a trooper, because it's quite exhausting. I know just for myself, live streaming for a couple of hours. He streams nearly 8 hours a day. I mean, it's incredible effort, and it's great that we have that raw footage beamed in there. I didn't make it to any of the Mission to Melbourne events because the March for the Babies had to be, well, the in-person event had to be cancelled in 2020 and 2021 due to Dan Andrews's lockdowns. I definitely wanted to go to the first in-person march for the babies and cover that since 2019. And an interesting fact that the 2008 abortion law reform that I just mentioned, which legalized abortion up until birth in Victoria, was pushed by the then Health Minister, Dan Andrews. Now, on my, on the Unshackled YouTube channel, I've published my interview with Bernie Finn, state MLC, now the leader of the Democratic Labour Party in Victoria. He obviously has had represented the Liberal Party in the Western Metro region since 2006, and from 1992 to 1999 was the member for Tullamarine. He'd had 40 years of loyal service to the Liberal Party of Victoria, but Matthew Guy decided earlier this year that his pro-life views weren't acceptable anymore, and so the party room expelled him. So he rejoined the Democratic Labor Party, the party that he joined as a teenager. He stood for the federal seat of Corangamite for the DLP at the 1980 election. I've also just put up my interview with Lee Davis, who is going to be a candidate for the revived Family First Party at the Victorian state election for Southeast Metro region. I just published that this afternoon. Lady of Shalott says about Dan Andrews, he professes to be a practicing Catholic. No church should give him communion. Andrews is a demon. Well, there certainly were. I met a number of attendees at the march who probably would agree with that statement. I mean, he just spent the past week attacking Christianity proper Christianity, I should say, which is Christianity that he doesn't like. I mean, he is criticisms of the City of the Hill Church that the now former Essendon CEO Andrew Thorburn was chairman of. Dan Andrews' words probably did have influence, given that Dan's an Essendon supporter himself. And so because that church was, as all proper Christian churches are, they're pro-life and believe that sex outside of man-woman marriage is a sin. Because of that, he was asked by the Essendon president to choose between his church and his football club, and so he chose his faith. Now, as I mentioned, the Antifa socialist mob, they were very upset that both of these events were happening. Now, as I wrote in my report, Margot and I did a joint report on the March for the Babies, and the fact that the march couldn't go past Parliament House. Normally the speeches are held on a truck soundstage outside Parliament House, but the pro-abortionists, they'd managed to book it weeks in advance, which has never happened before, and Victoria Police wouldn't allow them to just go past Parliament House for safety reasons. So the march begins at Treasury Gardens and usually ends at Parliament House. It started at Treasury Gardens, went around the CBD, and then finished at Treasury Gardens where the soundstage was. But despite the fact that it was far away from the feral pro-abortionists, they decided to have a well-planned infiltration of the formal proceedings with speeches, and this is the clips that I put together of their pathetic interruptions and protests against the March for the Babies and those wanting to protect human life.
It's quite ridiculous. It's quite ridiculous. And thousands of women are still suffering. Thousands and thousands of women are still suffering. Well, here we are talking about women suffering, and this crowd jump up. Get off. Where are the toughest? when we have elections, I think, is there a psychiatrist in the house? Gary, if you're there, mate, we'll go to you next. If you want to make your way up to the platform.
He wants a premiere.
And you know what? A lie is a lie, no matter how many times you tell it, right?
Yes, I don't get what the point of that lady was crying with devil horns on and floaties on her arms there. You heard their catch cry that pro-life is a lie. Well, I would say that pro-choice is a lie, because these pro-choice activists, what they're really pushing is choose abortion. That's the idea that they want to plant in women's heads who have unplanned pregnancies. And because the local Antifa socialists know who I am, there's no way that I could get near the pro-abortion rally, but this is one of the signs that was there. So it's interesting that they're all white women, while it was very multi-ethnic, the pro-life rally with whites, Asians, Indians. But yes, it was all white women here, and you can see that that girl with a sign that said, "I ask God, she's pro-choice." Well, I'm pretty sure that, well, I'm an atheist myself, but if you ask any Christian, they'd be able to tell you that God is certainly not a she. Now, 7 News, this was their spin on the March for the Babies. Obviously, they were able to get into the pro-abortion rally because well, 7 News is the worst for its left wing. During COVID, they always were promoting the totalitarian measures.
Abortion to Assange. So-called freedom fighters or freedom to choose. Different groups with the same mission gain the city's attention. This group was a counter-demonstration trying to disrupt this, an anti-abortion march a few hundred metres away. March for the Babies is organised by former Liberal MP Bernie Finn.
I can't think of a reason that you would kill a child.
Mr Finn was booted from the party for his view on abortion, replaced by Moira Deeming, a Melton councillor who, as it turns out, has similar views and opposes the rights of trans people.
They keep pre-selecting candidates who have these views that do not resonate and are not supported by the broad population.
Do you think it's strange though that they got rid of you and replaced you with something essentially the same?
Well, I think it just shows how out of touch the leadership of the Liberal Party is with its own members.
Anyone in this country is entitled to have a view on issues like that, and so long as their debates are sensible and respectful.
The main job for police today, keeping the groups with very differing views well separated.
When women's rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
Demanding that we continue to have our human rights respected as women.
Now, the parties that were represented at the pro-abortion march were obviously the Fiona Patton's Reason Party, the Animal Justice Party, and the Victorian Socialists. Now, that 7 News piece highlighted that Moira Deeming, a pro-life, pro-family activist and Liberal Party member, was pre-selected in Bernie Finn's old spot for the Western Metro region. Moira wasn't there on Saturday. The footage that they used was my footage from 3 years ago when Moira was the secretary of the the March for the Babies. She was at a community campaign event. She was probably told not to attend, though I did see her husband Andrew amongst the people there. I noticed that Senator Slayer has joined the chat. He just got released from prison today after serving 40 days in prison for verbal violence. It's his second imprisonment for verbal violence, that heinous offence where you say stuff that hurts people's feelings. Now, with the mission to Melbourne, there was an unfortunate assault on Michael Gray Griffith of Cafe Lockout, and when I say it was both unfortunate and horrific. This is a snippet from the live that Michael did.
Tami Jane's doing a wonderful thing, bringing these people together. I'm not going to come to the next marches because the people in amongst us who this is how they deal with their emotions. I don't want that to ruin the incredible thing that Tami's doing. But I'm okay. I just got a few bruises. I'll be fine.
And now the person who did this to Michael Gray Griffith was Wassim Hammoud, who is a freedom activist himself. Wassim did his own live where he claimed that it was Michael who attacked him, and he acted in self-defense. Wassim said before that he confronted Michael because, well, Cafe Lockdown is huge, and now they do their own in-person no goat shows. He and his contributors, and now the reason why he has become a target of other freedom activists is because he has had Me Too allegations against him, and so because he's a tall poppy, there's a lot of people who have hurled these allegations at him, which obviously mud. I don't know the veracity of them, but that sort of mud does stick. And so, yeah, that is unfortunate what happened to Michael. In my dealings with him, he has always been very pleasant, and so it's really a sad thing that that's happened. Now Senator Slayer is wanting to come on into the show to make an appearance. I'll message him on Telegram to see if he wants to come on briefly, so we can learn whether he's learned his lesson. Now, now I've lost my, for some reason, hang on, give me a moment here. I see what you've done, Senator Slay. You've messed this up for me. There we go there. All right, where was I? Cresho says it's okay to go for an extra hour. Daylight savings down there, so I'll finish at the same time up here. Oh, it's supposed to be a news explosion, not a what is it? A news continuous fire, which lasts for hours and hours. But speaking of explosions, there's apparently been some missile attacks in Kyiv. So obviously, it is being blamed on Vladimir Putin, probably responding to the partial destruction of his bridge to the Russian-conquered island of Crimea that was annexed, went from being Ukraine to Russia in 2014. It happened on Vlad's 70th birthday. Now there has been a lot of the nuclear threat scare has certainly been ramped up this past week, that Putin could use what's called tactical nuclear weapons. And it's clear that Ukraine, NATO, and all the Western nations are not going to back down. Neither is Putin. And the new owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, he doesn't want nuclear war, and so has been talking about, like, can we have a peaceful resolution to this, because the position of Twitter owner is above US President and UN Secretary General. He also had the idea that Taiwan could become an administrative region of the People's Republic of China to avoid conflict there as well. So he's assumed ownership of Twitter, and now he wants to solve the world's problems. Now, I think I've said my piece on Elon Musk previously, that he's a similar businessman to Trump, stable genius, madman in a good sense, like Trump is. I mean, he's just as outrageous as Trump was on Twitter. Everyone's hoping that he invites Donald Trump back on, and that Trump wants to come back on Twitter. And we saw Elon Musk welcome back Kanye West, who is now known as Ye. And Kanye West, he has certainly triggered and enraged a lot of people this past week. He showed up at Paris Fashion Week with Candace Owens of the Daily Wire, with White Lives Matter t-shirts. And he did an interview with Fox News' Tucker Carlson, where he talked about the pressure that was put on him not to support Trump, but to show that Elon Musk has got quite a way to return Twitter to the free speech public platform. Kanye has had his account locked, and because of this tweet that violated the Twitter rules. He said, because he's now known as Ye, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I can't actually be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. Well, yes, black people can be anti-Semitic. They are responsible for some, black people, blacks, members of the Black Hebrew Israelites were responsible for anti-Semitic terrorism in New York and New Jersey at the end of 2019. And Avi Yemeni, his response to Kanye's anti-Semitic tweet was, I may not like what Kanye says about me, i.e. a Jewish person like me, but I'll fight for his right to say it. Censorship is never the answer. Public debate is. And we've got the Senator Slayer on now. I was just talking about a Kanye, well, he's standing up for white people such as you and me.
Yes, I've just seen that. I've seen you put Avi up there as well. It's funny that you put Avi up there because he snitched on me, man. He went to the police and the media saying that I sent him some anti-Semitic text messages, which is untrue or true. I don't know.
Yes, I remember that, and probably a lot of our audience do. The reason why I put it up because, yes, it was refreshing to for Avi to post something like that in defense of a anti-Semitic tweet.
Well, it's because Kanye is so much more famous than Avi. If he was below Avi, he would be attacking him. But yeah, I don't know. For anyone listening, I've had a few beers. I've just been released from prison, so I'm kind of having a few beers, having a good time. So if I slur my words, I apologise.
Have you learnt your lesson? Are you now attending LGBT Muslim support groups on rooftops?
Well, prison was an experience, but it's my second time inside for the same charge, as you know. The first time was for disturbing a religious worship of a Muslim gathering. Now it's a gay gathering. I like to see them two mixed and see what happens if I disturb a mixed.
Well, there has been the sad murder of a gay Palestinian just in the over the weekend. So
that sounds justified to me. But in other news, prison was actually a great experience. It's very humbling. I had a cellmate that committed suicide. Well, not a cellmate, probably a cell, because I spent 40 days in the slot, which is insane.
What's the slot?
The slot is insane. It's like I don't want to like reveal too much, but
you have to define what's the slot like.
The slot is basically if you stab someone in prison, you go into the slot. If you punch someone, you go into the slot. I stayed in the slot for 40 days at 2 prisons.
Because you verbally stabbed people.
Their emotions. I stabbed their emotions. So Tim, I'll give you the scoop because you are a very accommodating individual. When I was moved from the Melbourne assessment prison to the Raven Hall prison, I was when I arrived there, I was how do I say? I was presented with a lot of gay propaganda
in prison.
In prison, yes.
Or was it part of the, attempted rehabilitation of you?
Well, all I know is that a guard wearing a pro-gay necklace, what is it called? A lanyard or
lanyard?
Lanyard. He attempted to sexually strip me down, and I said, "Are you a homo?" He said, "Yes, I am."
Strip searches, aren't they? Like normally done in prison.
They are regularly, very regularly, I might say, maybe too much. But this individual seemed to have a pro-LGBTI lanyard, and he seemed to strike me as a member of that clan. And I said to him, "Are you a homo?" He said, yes, I am a homo. I said, no, you are not strip searching me. Get that Muslim guard to strip search me. And I offered, the Muslim guard to strip search me over the alleged gay guard, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, that's interesting. Interesting story.
Well, I've got some other stories from prison, Tim. Would you like to hear them?
Well, we're running over time, so I'm sure you're going to do like a stream of your own in depth on your channel because you haven't got banned from YouTube yet.
I've been copyright striked a few times. I'm kind of scared to use YouTube, but there was an individual that came into prison when I was in there. He was a very charismatic individual. So when I was in prison, I was in a cell, and I stayed there for like 4 weeks. There was a lot of things going on in there. Prison's not good. If anyone's listening out there, young guys, don't go to prison. It's not good. But this guy come in, and he refused to take his medication. Let's just say 7 days into his stay into the unit, he ended up wiping his feces on the walls of the cell. It was quite disgusting. Yes.
Yeah.
And I had to smell that. I had to witness that. He would scream random things at all hours of the night. It was quite shocking. I would try to sleep. I couldn't because he was screaming. And when the guards attempted to feed him, give him food, he would gather his excrement, his urine and his feces, and throw it out the hole in the door. And eventually they had to move him up to the psych unit. But it was a very interesting experience, Tim, and I would not wish that on anyone else.
What about your worst enemies? Would you wish it on them?
No.
Really?
No, I actually wouldn't. Prison is pretty fucking... Like, I'm actually not joking now. That actually did happen, but I was kind of having a laugh. But prison's actually quite fucking sad place. It really is. I really think... I think Kennett, when he closed down the mental health wards, I think he really done a disservice to Victoria. I think there's a lot of people in prison that shouldn't be in prison that should be helped. I think there's a lot of mental illness in the Victorian state prisons. And a lot of the people in there don't belong in prison. They belong in a home or somewhere where they can get help. If someone's wiping their feces all over the cell, there's something not right with them. I don't think they're like a bank robber or a robber or a, someone who committed a robbery, etc. Whatever you think someone will go to prison for. I think the prison system, in honesty, is being used as a mental ward. It was like an asylum, bro. It was insane.
Well, they have, what is it? Well, it's not just in Victoria, but they've closed down a lot of mental asylums over the past 50 years because of some cruel practices that used to take place. But it seems like we've just thrown, as the saying goes, baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. I'm saying, literally, I'm not lying. I'm not trolling. If anyone thinks I'm trolling, probably about 40% of people in prison or at the MAP, the Melbourne Assessment Prison, are mentally ill people. They're fucked up, whether it be from drugs or mental illness or both. Yeah, something needs to be done. It's quite a sick place. It is really a sick place. And Melbourne Assessment Prison, the guards are pretty good there. They're dealing with what they got. But if someone refuses to take their medication, what are you going to do? The guard attempts to give medication to the guy. If he refuses, there's no psychiatrist there. It's just, they refuse to take their meds and they get worse and worse and they end up smearing shit on everyone. And like what we like to call in prison, gassing. They like to gas other prisoners and other guards. And gassing is basically throwing shit and feces and urine in a bag and throwing it at the guards. That happens constantly. I was in the slot for 40 days, man. The slot. It is fucking insane. I made some good friends, some allies. There is, and actually getting onto that, there is actually a growing movement in prison. I wasn't going in there looking to be an activist. I don't want to get into politics. I want to do my 40 days. I want to get out. But from what I noticed, people are pissed in there, man. And the whites are rising in there. I can't say I didn't do nothing. I just went in there, and from what I heard, there's a movement going on. And I didn't get vaxxed, by the way.
Were you offered it?
Well, like last time, because this is my second stint in prison. The last time was a month. This time's 40 days. I was on the bus. Well, when you go into prison, I think it's over now. They opened up all the units now. I think it's all over with. But when I got in there, they asked me for a COVID test, and I refused. And the doctors and because you got to be assessed before you actually enter the map. The doctors and psychiatrists and everyone, they had to come to me in the van, in the bus, to assess me. Then, as punishment for refusing the COVID test, I was put into a cell with shit all over the floor and shit all over the toilet. And then I was attempted to be strip searched in front of a female guard, which I kind of objected to. And then I don't want to get too much into it, but it was not a good time in prison. I'm pretty mentally strong, so I dealt with it. Some dude committed suicide 2 cells from me. It is not a good place. It is really not a good place in prison.
Well, it's good that you're out now. And yeah, I'll let you get back to just enjoying normal life because
thank you, Tim. You look, you're in a bad place when you're taking a shit, eating cornflakes, watching TV, and chatting to a female guard through the window. You're not in a good place. Okay.
Yeah, it's certainly it sounds just shocking hearing it. So, as I said, take care and
thank you, Tim.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear more from you soon.
Okay, thank you for listening, everyone. Goodbye.
There we go. Now, unfortunately, I'm now going to continue with more bad news. Now, PayPal, that payment processor has really taken a very escalated dark turn in the past few months. They shut down the Free Speech Coalition in the UK's PayPal account, and now they thought they could get away with having a policy that would, well, steal people's money from their PayPal's account, a financial fee of $2,500 US. But after backlash and with many people closing down their PayPal accounts, PayPal said that the policy was published in error. You know how it happens. So I don't know who this David Marcus is. He said, it's hard for me to openly criticize a company I used to love and gave so much to, but PayPal's new AUP goes against everything I believe in. A private company now gets to decide to take your money if you say something they disagree with. Insanity. And Elon Musk said, agreed. Now, I've got a screenshot here of what the policy said. So it said, if you are a seller and receive funds for transactions that violate the acceptable use policy, then in addition to being subject to the above actions, you'll be liable to PayPal for the amount of PayPal damages caused by your violation of the acceptable use policy. You acknowledge and agree that $2,500 US per violation of the acceptable use policy is presently a reasonable minimum estimate of PayPal's actual damages, including but not limited to internal administrative costs incurred by PayPal to monitor, track violations, damage to PayPal's brand reputation, and penalties imposed by PayPal and its business partners resulting from a user's violation. Yes, that sounds like, it was just an error, that they didn't mean any of that, it doesn't sound at all like they were trying to be so brazen as to wanting to steal people's money. Their name should probably they should probably have changed their names to Pay Thief, and this is similar to what GoFundMe similar to what GoFundMe tried to do earlier this year when they were Go Fraud Me, when they froze donations for the Canadian trucking convoy and said, if you don't apply for a refund, we'll give it to charities that we like. And it's clear that PayPal terms and conditions, like this is a small thing that maybe that they were counting nobody would look up. It reminds me of that South Park episode with the Apple's terms and conditions, where you agree to where users agree that Apple can kidnap them and turn them into a human centipede. So yes, that was quite. I would say it's quite scary that because these are transnational corporations, they believe that they're above national laws. I mean, this is what they seem to believe, that because they are a globalist company, that they can just, it's because it'd be hard for various national governments to try and stop this policy. Now, going on to another bit of terrible news, and that is what has happened at Mermaids UK, which is a trans kids charity. One of their trustees resigned over a speech he gave 10 years ago at a pro-pedophile event. So Dr. Jacob Breslow, so he became a trustee just in July. So he's an associate professor of gender and sexuality at the London School of Economics Department of Gender Studies. Why does the School of Economics have a gender studies department? So on October 3rd, he resigned after it began to circulate that he had a disturbing history of pro-pedophile sentiment, including having spoken at a symposium held by Before You Act, a charity founded in 2003 by convicted child rapist Michael Melshima. Breslow's presentation was titled Sexual Alignment, critiquing sexual orientation, the pedophile, and the DSMV. In the lecture, Breslow promotes the concept of treating pedophilia as a sexual orientation, a goal long advocated by Before You Act. And so it's got it highlighted here, the part of his paper here. So it says, allowing for a form of non-diagnosable minor attraction is exciting, as it potentially creates a sexual or political identity which activists, scholars, and clinicians can begin to better understand minor attracted persons. And another highlighted bit of this paper, many tend to begin with the linkage of pedophile desire to harmful and abusive relationships and acts, and end up proliferating rather than questioning normative, gendered, and sexual intelligibility. And yes, it gets worse. What's written here. So at the organization's 2011 symposium, Breslow read from a paper in which he compared molesting a child to masturbating on a shoe. It's really gross and sick and disgusting. The fact that this guy, Dr. Jacob Breslow, has managed to have a successful career in academia for over 10 years. He's originally American, but has been working in the UK. He has a brother who is gay as well. So yes, extremely disturbing development, and Mermaids UK was already under fire for allegedly supplying underage children, I should say, with chest binding devices. Now, one final bit of unfortunate news. Herschel Walker, who is the Republican Senate candidate for Georgia, he's been accused of paying for a former girlfriend's abortion, despite proclaiming to be a pro-life candidate. Herschel's flamboyant son, Christian Walker, is a commentator and activist in his own right. Christian, he followed his father in a way by becoming a cheerleader. And so Christian in his video said, my intention is don't lie about your life at the expense of me, my mum, and all the people that you've affected throughout your life. You don't get to pretend that you're some moral family guy. You don't even get to pretend all these things. Talk policy, talk normal, don't lie. So Christian has been passively supporting his father, but on an Instagram clip really let him have it there. So if the allegation is true, then Herschel is a hypocrite and should not be voted for by pro-life candidates. Yes, Georgia, the state, not the country, because the midterms are under a month away. First Tuesday in November. I think it's November 6th, if I'm not mistaken. All right, that brings me to the end of Tim's News Explosion for another week. Now, I'm going to be having quite the busy week because obviously filming Saturday at the March, then editing back tonight. Tomorrow night will be a Trad Tasman Talk makeup show with myself and Dewey DeBoer at 7 p.m. Melbourne time, 9 p.m. Auckland time on the Unshackled YouTube channel. Dewey and I will discuss Jacinta Ardern's misinformation war and also her party's drubbing in the local government elections in New Zealand. Then there will be another Wilms Front this Thursday as well. So I had my first Wilms Front program since relaunching with Northern Irish unionist Jolene Bunting. My guest this Thursday will be Rocco Laukoni. He is a West Australian academic, co-author of Deconstructive ScoMo with Professor Augusto Zimmerman. We'll be discussing how does the Liberal Party federally and at a state level reconnect with mainstream Australia and conservative voters. So thank you everyone for your company tonight. Remember to keep checking out the unshackled.net, and also I'll notify when there's more March for the Babies videos up on YouTube and other platforms. So they'll be released progressively throughout the week. So stay tuned for those. Everyone stay safe, stay sane, stay free, and I'll see you tomorrow night.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News